Okay, welcome to the video. SIG Guy here. In this video, I'm going to show you just how easy it is to remove and replace your factory magazine release with the Tyrant Designs extended magazine release. I'm going to be showing you two methods today, the Allen wrench method and the razor blade method. So with that, let's get started. As always, before we get started, we're going to make sure we're working on a clear and safe firearm. So we're going to lock our slide to the rear. We're going to physically and visually check to make sure there's no round in the chamber, no magazine. Check our breech face, look away, do the same thing again. Chamber, magazine, breech face. We are working on a clear and safe firearm. And just to add another layer of safety, I'm going to do a basic field strip. So I'm going to lock my slide to the rear, rotate my takedown lever, and remove my slide. If you've ever tried to remove your magazine release, you know that it can be difficult, and for some people it gives them a really hard time. So for that reason, I think it's better to understand how the parts work together. It makes it that much easier to disassemble them. So let's talk about the components first and how they interact with each other. So there's three parts that make up your magazine release. We got the magazine release itself. We got a little spring, and we got a little catch or wedge. Let's talk about the catch first and its design. Your catch is like a little V. It's got this leg right here on this side. And in order for this catch to be removed, you got to push this leg in towards the center, and then it can come up and out of the cavity that it resides in. Okay. This little leg, you can see how it sticks out a little bit. Well, that portion that sticks out is captured underneath here. Okay, so that's why this little hole is in the magazine release. So when those two components are installed, they are installed together like this. You can see that little leg is facing the magazine release. So what happens is when we stick our little tool in this hole, you can see it's going to interact directly with that catch or that wedge, and it's going to push that leg in towards the center, disconnecting this ledge here from this piece here, allowing it to slide up and out. Okay. To illustrate this a little more, I've done a little diagram. So this is our magazine release, and this is our catch or our wedge. Okay, so there's two different methods that I'm going to be using today. One is the Allen wrench method. There's many different items you can use to replace this Allen wrench. Some people use a SIM card removal tool, others use a needle, others use a paper clip. I've found this Allen wrench to be very useful. The other method is the X-Acto blade method. Okay, so we're going to go over both of those today. In this diagram, I'm showing you how to use the X-Acto blade method. This dotted line is going to be our razor blade. Okay, we're going to carefully insert that razor blade at an angle down in between the catch and the magazine release, far enough to where that razor blade gets in behind our leg on our catch. Okay, and then what's going to happen is we're going to be able to press this magazine release right through the grip module, because that little leg on our catch is not connected to our magazine release anymore. Okay, so basically the magazine release will fall right out the bottom, the wedge will pop out the top, and it'll be disassembled. The other method I'm going to show you is the paper clip, which we just kind of went over. We're going to go in through the hole. We're going to depress our magazine release so we can see the hole, and then we're going to insert our paper clip in through the hole so that it pushes on our catch, the little leg on there. And what I do is I push in with my paper clip or my Allen wrench, and then I pry up, and then I pull it out of the hole. I put it back in the hole. I push in, pry up. So it's this constant motion like this that works that wedge up and out of the cavity. So the two different methods, obviously the razor blade, and I use an Allen wrench. Like I said, people use SIM card removal tools, paper clips, needles. I like the Allen wrench because of the steel that it's made of. It's pretty rigid, and for the most part, it stays straight, versus a paper clip keeps bending. The SIM card, it's not really big enough for me to see what's going on and work it in the hole there. So this is the size Allen wrench that I'm using. It's an extra long one. So we'll go over that method first. There are two different methods, and there are different reasons for using each method. The Allen wrench method, if you're not careful, it can leave a little groove here in your polymer frame. So the SIG frames are a lot softer than these Wilson Combat ones. So if you're not careful, you'll see a little bit of a ridge or a groove there. The razor blade does not touch any of the module at all. It goes in between the catch and the release itself, so you don't run the risk of damaging your grip module. So that's why a lot of people prefer the razor blade. To be honest, I can't always get the razor blade in there very easily, and I always feel like I'm going to slice myself wide open. My go-to is the Allen wrench, and it works pretty easy for me. So the reason why I showed you the diagram and went over how it works, because when you're using the Allen wrench, if you can kind of visualize what's happening, it makes the success rate a lot higher of getting this out without destroying anything, okay? A lot of people destroy this because they don't actually know what they're doing when they're manipulating the tool. Therefore, they're ruining it, and then when they ruin it, it's kind of more jammed in there and won't come out as easy. So let's go over this Allen wrench. A lot of people use a roll of painter's tape to push this grip module on. They have the tape underneath the magazine release. When they push down on their grip module, it's exposing the hole that we're going to be using in our magazine release. Okay, for me, it's just easy enough to hold it. If you don't have the grip strength, then obviously use a painter's tape or something. But if you do, I just kind of press it like that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab our Allen wrench. We're going to insert it into the hole here, and being very careful not to push down on our grip module here to ruin it. We're going to push in on our Allen wrench and then kind of pull down on the Allen wrench, and that's going to pry the wedge up. We're going to repeat this over and over and over, and you'll see that wedge walk its way right out of there, okay? This is where that diagram I showed you, it's going to be worth its weight in gold, because you can kind of visualize what you're doing as you're doing it, okay? So really quick, we'll push this in, pry up. We'll just do that a couple times just like that, and you can see how easily it walked its way right out of there, okay? Then we'll grab our wedge. And you can see how our wedge interacts with our magazine release. There's that little notch under here that's capturing that catch. So when we push that catch away from it, it's able to come up and out of there. Okay. So now we'll just let our parts drop through the other side. And there you have it. We have our magazine release, the spring, and our wedge or the catch. Next, we'll go over the razor blade method. This is just an X-Acto blade. The procedure is a little bit different. This one, we're going to actually just press in on our mag release just a little bit, and what that's going to do is relieve the tension between the magazine release and the magazine release catch. Okay, that spring is forcing the two components against each other, and that's what's locking it in place. So we're going to push in just a little bit. We're going to use our razor blade to get down in between the two pieces. I generally point the blade away from me, and then just being very careful. We're going to kind of put this in here at an angle. We're going to rotate it and wiggle it and move it down inside, and you'll see it'll kind of walk its way in there. And then when you know it's in far enough, when it's basically held in place by itself, we know we're in there deep enough, okay? So normally when you let go, this stuff will just fall apart because the spring is going to push it apart. If it doesn't fall apart, then just basically be careful, hold your razor blade, and push in on your wedge or your magazine release. Okay, you can see it's actually countersunk, and then I'm just going to pull my razor blade out, and the parts just basically fall out. So we got our magazine release, we got our wedge, and our spring. All right, and it really is that easy to disassemble this. I know a lot of people struggle with it, and they probably hate me right now. Basically, if you understand how the parts work together, it makes it that much easier to disassemble. So that's why we went through all the diagram and all that stuff. So let's reinstall our Tyrant Designs extended mag release. Okay, And basically, anytime I'm installing a part, I like to check for fitment first, okay? That way we make sure it's going to work properly, and then if it doesn't work properly, we're not destroying the product, and our chances of returning it will be greater because it's resellable. It's in resellable condition, okay? So we're going to check to make sure that slides in there nice and easily. Don't forget, it's just that little spring that makes it come back out once you're done depressing it, which just seems to be plenty of room in there. There is a little bit of a trick to installing this. Basically, you got to make sure your mag release goes in nice and even, and the little spring is going to push up against that little plastic wall inside there. You see it? That wall is directly in the middle of the cavity. That way this mag release, or any mag release, can be installed ambidextrously. Okay, so the spring's either going to push against this side, or it's going to push against that side of that little wall in there. Okay, so when you're sliding in your magazine release with the spring, you got to make sure that spring goes right up against that wall. It doesn't go underneath that wall. It doesn't try to go above that wall. It doesn't fall out and come down the mag well and land on the carpet and you didn't see it. So this is another reason why I removed the slide, because when I install mine, I'm in this position here with the muzzle facing me. So I want to make sure that it's a safe firearm. So that's why we removed the slide. So we're going to put our spring on our magazine release. Now the spring and the catch are not included with the magazine release, nor are they included with many mag releases out there. So you might want to order an extra just in case you lose it or damage the catch. That way when you go to install this stuff, you have the proper parts to put it back together. So we're going to install this in through the side here, and we're going to keep it nice and flush. Okay, and we're not going to angle it down so that the spring falls off. We're going to kind of rotate it to this side where I can see it coming through the hole on this side. Okay, where I can see it right there, and I can just push it all the way through, making sure that my spring is going to line up perfectly. So you got to kind of move things around just like that. And then when I can push it and it's returning, everything's working properly right now. If that's not happening, then that spring is jammed up in there. You got something going on. So don't go and put your wedge in there because you might not be able to get it back out. So anyway, mine's working properly. I can feel it returning. I'm going to take my wedge. This only goes in one way. You want that open part facing out. Okay, and that leg that's on the right hand side over here facing the mag release. So I'm going to kind of put that in there just like that. Push it down, you can hear it click, and then release it, and then do a function check. Make sure it works properly. So now that we have our Tyrant Designs extended mag release installed and looks pretty badass, we're going to want to make sure that it works properly. So we're going to reinstall our slide. And then we're going to take a unloaded magazine, and we're going to make sure that it seats properly. It's retained by the magazine release, and then that the magazine falls out under its own weight, which it does. So everything is working properly with this magazine release. And there you have it. It is just that simple. That's how you upgrade your factory magazine release with the Tyrant Designs extended magazine release, and I think that looks pretty badass in there. I do love their look. Their chevron design they go with. They got a mag well, a rear slide cap, a slide catch, slide stop, and some other parts coming out with that chevron look, that theme incorporated in those as well. I think that looks pretty badass. So I hope you found this video very useful. If you're looking for more installation and how-to videos, please visit my YouTube channel, SIG Guy on YouTube. And if you're interested in aftermarket parts and accessories and upgrades for SIG Sauers, some CZ and some Glock, also on there, please visit sigguy.com. Thank you very much for watching and have a good day.